for August 3rd. I did review them. I put my comments on top of yours, Herb. What are you okay with the minutes? I am.
Yes.
Okay. Colleen, then Herb and I both agree that those are good.
Okay.
Next is Colleen's timesheet. It's a normal 70-hour week. Herb, do you have any issues with it?
None.
I don't either. Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
Next one is money turnover, and got total of 850. Comes from 610 for Board of Health and plumbing and permits. $30 for licenses, $210 for gas permits, and that's it for a total of $850. Are you okay with that, Herb?
Yes.
I am too, Colleen. That's approved.
Okay.
The next one is a one-day permit for the Dino Fest of September 11th to the Church of Christ. Do you have an issue with it, Herb? I don't know what's going to happen with all of these, but in a month.
Yeah, Dennis Doucette did call me and said, well, you know, it's a big event. Is there? I said, well, you know, there's no restrictions right now, but you know, I don't know.
Herb, do you have an issue with it?
If I had a crystal ball, I could give you a full reprise of it, but no issue now.
Yeah, me too, Colleen. So that's approved.
Okay, so I'll send those or that along to Lynn and make her aware of that date.
Okay. Lee, is that you that just came on?
Yeah, I went on in the past and I got to a meeting site and there was nobody there for whatever reason, but it's all good.
Okay. The next one is Immaculate Heart of Mary one day. Now that's coming up. I have to say I don't like this one. I'm not at the point that it was worth digging in, but they know that they're supposed to give us the 4 weeks. They didn't give it to us. They did it the last time or the time before. They gave us even less notice, and I don't know when. I think these things are planned months in advance. But I don't know, Herb and Lee, do we?
Is this a pickup only scenario?
No.
Well, it's outside. He said if they need to go to pickup only, they could, but it is outside, I believe.
Well,
It is outside. It's down in their pavilion.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we know nothing about the hot holding. We know nothing about the cold holding. We don't know how they're going to monitor temperatures or if they monitor temperatures. We don't know anything about it, that stuff. So either throw your hands up and say, hope not too many people have a problem, and or it becomes essentially an impossibility.
They have a serve safe person, I trust, on staff. Is that close to being accurate?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we make it? Well, it's up to you guys. My thought right now, I understand where we're coming from in this, Herb. Takeout only, and emphasize the fact that the notification procedures are not being followed, but they have to be followed. You know, I'm not trying to be a bad guy to anybody's church in town, but if something goes wrong, we're partly on the hook.
Do we get Lynn to go over this thing and see, we're not really, I'm not sure that the Church of Christ with their dino thing is a lot different than this. Well, it's a lot different in that they gave us the time to go over the questions we would have. And even after being told, Jeff is not, for some reason, is not working to help us help him.
Lynn would have to go over there on the day this was held to, in fact, check the temperatures.
That's right.
And if the temperatures weren't okay, then something would have to be done at that time or close them down. But you can't check the temperatures before the event takes place.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Lynn could go over there during the event with the mandate that if things aren't right, to close them down.
Yeah, and if it was takeout, it's probably going to be the same issue anyways, other than it's indoors and you've got a better chance at using mechanical refrigeration.
Right, and part of the reason I brought that up was to eliminate the time the food is out of the kitchen, but also to eliminate the elbow to elbow of people who may or may not have been vaccinated, and as the colors are going to come back into the area pretty quickly, try to just cut down on the possible transmission here.
And maybe that is the happy medium that I don't want to go and shut this down because there's a lot of publicity for this right now. But I don't want, as Herb's saying, you don't want to get people sick either. And so maybe the consequence of not giving us the time we need to go over these questions is you do exactly what you said, Lee, is say it has to be a takeout event because we don't want to say, no, we're not going to give you the permit because the next time we meet, the thing is, this is going to be done.
Right.
Herb, what would you think of saying it's got to be takeout?
I don't know. I don't know, Dick. There's no way to assure anything here. Jeff has got to be more responsive next year. Maybe that's part of what we have to do. Tell him that next year we need chapter and verse on this, not slapdash, we're going to do it. And you guys are going to approve it because you essentially have to. So sure, takeout. I could go along with takeout, but I don't know that it's really any different. You still have to cook the food. You still have to hold the food. You still have to dish up the food.
And in reality, if you've got the serve safe person there,
who's the serve safe? I know they have a serve safe, or they said they have someone who's serve safe certified.
I think he is, Jeff Lucier.
Okay. So he should know better.
I guess I'm going back and forth, especially especially when we just approved the Church of Christ, and then we're doing, even though they're totally different reasons, and Herb, you're moving around a little bit too. I think that I guess if I had to lean, I'd probably go to what you just said, Herb. It does, if they're not going to be safe, it probably doesn't matter where they're not going to be safe. And if they're going to be safe, it doesn't matter either. So
I think so, Dick. I think there's really, we're caught. There's not much we can do except say yes, unless you want to really be the bad guys here and close the whole thing down. And none of us really want to do that. We just want folks to be safe, and to be safe for the people who are going to be involved in this.
So maybe, Lee, could you go along with issuing this and making, and with the provision that Lynn has to get there on the day of, and that they better be right, because if it's not right, it's going to get shut down.
That's as fair as we can make it, especially given this crummy short notice.
So Herb, it sounds like you could support that too.
That's what I suggested, and I would support it.
Okay, I can too. So that's what we're gonna do. Colleen, we're gonna approve this one, but Lynn's gotta get there and inspect it. And we're gonna have to talk, I think we need to get Jeff at our next meeting and do some face-to-face talking, because this can't continue.
Okay.
Okay, we're 12 after, so do we want to, I don't know if Lisa is here.
I am.
You are.
I'm here.
You want to jump to Lisa? But that's what we're going to do. Instead of going further with our business, Lisa, we'll get you in a spot. What I really wanted to look at, I guess the first issue before looking at your proposal is, are we as a board, Herb and Lee, are we in a spot that we're willing to give this variance? Before I go further, Lisa, you told me that you were going to authorize someone from your group to go to ServSafe. Is that in fact still the case?
It is. Rachel LaPrade, who is the activity and nutritions coordinator. Half her job is activities, the other half is everything nutrition, from the lunch program to the brown bag, to maintaining the food pantry. She's going to go for the ServSafe managers training. She was about to queue it up when we got scheduled through West Mass Elder Care's sanitation training, which was done on site, as many of you know. It was done 2 weeks ago. There were 3 staff and 7 volunteers, as well as the allergen training. So seeing as that we thought lunch was bearing down on us for yesterday, we quickly did that. But Rachel is prepared. I just have to get the town administrator's credit card, and she can do the training online, but she wants to sit for the exam at Holyoke Community College at a scheduled proctored exam date. But she can get that within probably 2 or 3 weeks, assuming they're going to allow in-classroom test taking. I don't know why she wants to do it in a classroom. I would stay remote, but that's her call. And I think, I mean, I'm interim. If I end up, staying for any considerable length of time, then I will also get the smaller ServSafe handler certificate. But right now, as we understood, and I believe Lisa Lovell from West Mass Elder Care Nutrition may also have dialed into this call, the training they provided to 3 staff and 7 volunteers meets the guidelines from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs. And I did relay to Colleen that when doing the kitchen tour with the nutrition staff at West Mass Elder Care, going through the drawers looking for thermometers, we found the binder that has prior year's certificates of either Serve Safe or the West Mass Elder Care Sanitation and Allergen Training. So various directors and nutrition coordinators at the senior center have made use of the West Mass Elder Care training.
Then another thing that's different than your, actually, it came up after your proposal was written, I think, because I don't believe the facility is in the boil water order anymore. I thought I saw notice that the water passes now.
Hey, that's great. Then I don't have to show you the nice little signs we hung on every bathroom mirror and the door to the lunchroom.
Colleen, am I correct that you sent out?
Well, I did send the thing, I did send the lab report, but I thought Jeremy told me it was gonna take a couple months, Jeremy, the head of maintenance, that it was gonna
Okay.
take, and what I see is total coliform result is present in the well number 1 raw water tap in the pantry closet.
Oh,
So I don't know if that
No. And what I
was,
present isn't good.
yeah, what was explained to me is that if you get 1 good week, you got to get 4 more good weeks consecutively before they can lift the boil water order.
Okay, so I am incorrect. So all of your work to actually, Herb and Lee, what I did is when I talked to Lisa L,
Level, yeah.
she was going at it from the food standpoint. And I said, there's another component right now, and that's the facility standpoint.
Yeah.
So Lisa was saying there's no liquid is going to be taken from that area, and all the food was coming in packaged, and so she said we're safe that water problem didn't bother her, but I told Lisa Level that Lisa P had to look at that facility, and let's make sure that when you put people in there, that people don't say, I'm thirsty, I'm gonna take my little cup and go in the bathroom or go to the bubbler and drink some of this water. So that's where Lisa P came up with her part to say, I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen. So we have a safe, we've got safe food provided in a safe manner in a facility where people act safely. So that's how these pieces fit together.
Right.
So Herb and Lee, you've heard Lisa P and you've heard me. What are your thoughts?
So have you guys looked at the plan?
I did.
Okay. Because you were asked me to submit a plan. I kept it simple. And it really does boil down to making sure people understand that they're not to drink from the tap. Okay. And we don't serve water. We don't make coffee. I asked Lisa Level at West Mass Elder Care, how are patrons and even volunteers to wash their hands, whether they go to use the restroom or whether they're volunteers who are changing their gloves for one reason and want to wash their hands. And so can someone allow me to show my screen? I just want to show the sign we made, and these are everywhere.
Sure, go ahead and do it.
It says the host has disabled participant screen sharing. So who's
Oh,
hosting the meeting?
I am, and
Okay.
I am not going to take a chance at that.
Okay, don't
Because
worry about it.
I don't know. I could disable everybody for the rest of this meeting
All
very
right, let's leave it
easily.
alone. What I'll tell you we did was I told you my complaint in the plan is that the boil water order is in such tiny font and too many words that most people don't even know we have a boil water order at the Council on Aging address. So we made a very simple graphic with a spigot with faucet in a big red circle with a big red line through it and a drinking water cup under it. And it says, temporary water quality issue, do not drink the tap water. And when you need to wash your hands, wash with hot water and soap in the way we've been doing for COVID. Dry your hands and finish with sanitizer, rubbing your hands dry. There's sanitizer in every public restroom. There's 4 of them in the building. And that sign is on every mirror in those bathrooms. And it's also on the door to the lunchroom. So that's the best we can do to try and put this front and center. It's a little embarrassing if you ask me, but it is what it is. We didn't make the water. There's just a problem and they need to figure out where it came from. So.
Lee and Herb, what are your thoughts?
I think you need to announce it as well to
Okay.
everyone,
Sure.
because even though you have signs, a lot of people are going
They're
to
tired.
Yes, they're going to discount that. So maybe a few times
Okay.
actually announce it and emphasize it that the
Okay.
water is not safe to drink at the
Okay.
present time.
Okay. We can do that.
So you'll modify your plan, Lisa, to include that?
Sure, I can do that. I can do it tonight and send it back to you.
Lee, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, Hert's comment is correct, just reinforcement all the time. Everything else appears to have been well thought out.
So are we in a spot that will grant the variance and allow the program to get started?
I think so.
Me
I
too.
believe so, yes.
Okay, Lisa, you're all set.
So lunch tomorrow?
If you can arrange it.
Okay, they put it in. They were itching to do it. It was gonna be Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday for 3 weeks. We're gonna temperature check everyone. And if all goes well and we're still allowed to be open, then we're gonna go 5 days a week, and hopefully somewhere in the next few weeks, it would be nice, but I think it's gonna be 4 or 5 till those consecutive water samples come back clean.
When you leave, I would suggest, we haven't brought it up tonight, but I would suggest that tomorrow, I know Long Meadow adopted a mask policy that says in all public places, you'll be wearing masks, and in eating areas, you'll be wearing masks other than when you're eating or drinking. So if that would probably be a good thing for you to start tomorrow.
Are you guys going to promulgate that across the town and have Jeremy put up signs like the last time? We got the 6-foot social distancing signs, and then we got the signs that said, unless you're fully vaccinated, you must wear a mask while you are in this center and stay 6 feet apart. So
I can't tell you that we're gonna do that. We're gonna be discussing it.
okay,
And because of our good old open meeting laws, none of us, the 3 of us, no 2 or more of us can speak together about any
Right.
type of thing like that other than at a meeting. So I can't give you that. I can't give you that information yet.
so you're concerned about our particular event tomorrow because we had 6 quilters in the same large room this afternoon. I opened all 3 windows. They're there for about an hour. Do they want to wear masks? I didn't see a mask on one of them. I wear a mask.
Yeah.
So is this because you're expecting, it's going to be a small group. We're starting out with, I think, 4 or 5 for tomorrow. Monday was going to be better because it was cordon bleu, but we canceled it. But tomorrow will be 4 or 5. They'll be sitting for perhaps no more than an hour. But you would like them, unless a fork or a spoon is going to their mouth, to have a mask on while they're sitting at table.
I can't tell you that. All I can say is you're gonna be leaving us and gonna be doing something tomorrow
Yeah.
And I'm just anticipating we could say that tonight.
Okay.
Whether we can actually implement it tomorrow if we did it, I don't know,
Okay.
but there's no reason not to act in a safe manner.
I agree. I agree. Okay, we will make that announcement as they're coming in, and we will have masks ready for people who didn't come with a mask. And if they don't like it, they may turn and leave, but we got to set a tone, especially as we're going into the autumn months and the numbers aren't right now looking very favorable.
No, and if you looked at,
I did, I read,
you saw my charts, and if
I
you,
circulated it to all my staff, even the driver of the shuttle.
yeah, so you can see our curve right now sure looks like going into the nasty holidays last fall.
Yeah, we just hope we don't have to duck soon.
In addition,
Okay.
in
Yeah, go
addition
ahead.
to masks, Lisa, the distancing,
Yeah.
you might think about that as well,
Well, I
because
have a big plexiglass sign right as they come towards a serving table that says, it's published and printed, please maintain 6 feet social distance. Most people don't get it. They don't. But I'm constantly with my arm out saying, why you keep getting closer to me? I'd like to keep some distance, and you need to do that too. So yes, we will hammer that home.
thank you.
Yes.
Have a good night, Lisa.
Good night.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
spending
all
some
for
time.
the time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Our next one is Salem Mazui. I'm not sure he's here.
Yes, I am calling in.
Okay. I reviewed the tests, and where we said to you the last time is that a certified lab said, gee, this water doesn't meet the standards. You in fact have provided what appears to be a very competent certified lab. And I can't say that the other one wasn't. If it's licensed, it's competent too. But it was
I'm sorry.
more detailed in its explanation about secondary guidelines and what's mandatory and what's recommended and what's enforceable. And when I read the report, it tells me that you in fact failed several of the guidelines. However, they are guidelines and not enforceable as drinking water standards. They're only recommendations. And the lab said the first lab did it for bacterial issues, and there are none. And the second was chemical. From my standpoint, it is a certified lab that says this water is okay to drink. But what are Lee and Herb, what are your thoughts?
Without any of those comments, my reading of the report would say it's okay.
Lee?
Yeah, agreed. Yes.
So we'll sign off on that water. We'll let Colleen sign off on your building permit.
Great, thank you. Just in case it's a concern for you, with the state certification, I was informed that the Quabbin Analytical is a state certified lab, but their certification only pertains to the biological, and that was the discrepancy. And so just if it's of concern for you in terms of other things that you see, but they were extremely helpful and Quabbin Analytical was great in terms of rectifying the issue and everything like that. And I think their standard procedure now is to subcontract now to the other lab. So.
Okay, so we're all set, and you're all set.
Great. And how do I physically obtain the signature?
Colleen is authorized to put our signatures on it, on the
Just
document.
come to the office. Yeah.
Okay, so I can come to the office.
Yes.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, good night.
Okay, have a good night and stay healthy, please.
So now let's get back into our normal business. We've got the temporary food permit for Immaculate Heart of Mary. We've got a temporary food permit for the Friends of Granby Vets. Mike Pandora. Are we okay with that? Actually, I feel very good about Mike. Mike is a firecracker when it comes down to details on food safety. But are we, Herb and Lee?
Sure.
You have exactly the same issues with hot and cold holding that we were discussing earlier. They're not any different. So this is a person we know, you know, particularly well, but the issues are not any different than what we discussed earlier.
So Lynn should look at this too,
Absolutely.
as well as the Dino Fest. We didn't say that, but they really should, and that's the purpose of, we sign these things, and Lynn actually, in the past, the inspector gives them out.
Yeah, I'll email her and send her the permits and tell her the dates. And hopefully she can, go to all those.
So, the next one is, this one be Lee, this is the certificate of compliance for 84 West Street. That's the one
Yes,
on the Carrot Patch.
yes, that was done with Sherman and Frederick. They were on site multiple times. The strip out was where they wanted it, as well as the completion. I think it was Keith that was there, and all his numbers came in correctly.
So we're okay with this.
Yes, thank you.
You, Herb, you okay?
Yeah, the site looks a lot different now.
It does. It does.
Yes.
Okay, Colleen, we're all set with that one.
Okay.
The next one is we're not going to do. That's the permit for the D-box replacement at 126 Cold Hill. They did not pay the fee. And our policy is we don't issue permits that without fees being paid. So next is, Lee, these are yours. 126 Cold Hill Road, Alan Weiss Passes, the Title V. The other is 23 Carver Street, David Kibbe, and that passed. Are they both okay?
Yes, 23 passed as it was, and as we mentioned, or you mentioned a minute ago, 126 Cold Hill did require a component replacement, which has been put in, but apparently, not paid for. And they did a little bit of work. There's a tight tank off the garage, and they had to do some modifications to the float for the alarm to go on and the pump, which has been done as well.
So we can accept those. Well, not accept.
Well,
not
but right, if we accept them, if we accept
receive them.
126, it'll just go away. But if it's not paid for, we can't accept it, correct?
Well, we're not going to accept it.
We're not accepting, we're receiving.
We're receiving it. So we received the permit, but we're not going to, somehow, Colleen, you're going to have to get back at, now who, what, 126, we should go back to Alan Weiss and say, Alan, what gives here?
Yeah, okay, I will. I'll get in touch with
Oh.
him.
Leo Fugler and Jeff Lucier did the work on that. The homeowner is already residing in Florida,
Oh,
but I'm, obviously there's communication available for all parties involved.
Mhm.
Who actually filled out the permit? Colleen, do you know?
it was sent to me by Alan.
So Alan's the guy.
Yeah, and he said, yeah, he had an email to them, I believe, to pay, but, I'll go back to him for sure.
Okay. So next is 3 Barton Street. Before we get to that, we've got 2 things that, well, I guess we can wait for mail to do this. 3 Barton Street. And it looks, we're supposed to have someone from Eversource here as well, I think.
Amy, yeah, Amy Henderson, I don't know if she's there. No?
Hi, everyone. I am on.
Okay,
Okay, I'm gonna try to steer us in a direction that we get the job that needs to get done by Eversource in a way that we don't damage something that has to go back and get redone. And I actually read Eversource's policy about going into rights of way, and they've got the ability, they've got the right to access. But in this case, with a little upfront planning, we could protect something that's worth a ton of money, and in the long run, having Eversource end up in some kind of a lawsuit in the future doesn't make any sense to anybody. And so what I had asked the owners to do is to make sure that they fenced off the spot where the leach field is. And Amy, what was going to try to express to you, and I know you're not the person to make promises or anything, but I am an engineer with lots of experience, not in building those towers. However, it seems that when I look at a job site and I was using cranes, the cranes can be placed in many, many different locations. And as long as they know, in this particular case, the leach field is pretty big and it's sitting on top of some very, very dense soil. And so, and it's on a hillside besides. So when you look at that site, the things that you want to be careful for are the actual leach field and the tank and the pipes, but the leaching facility, and you want to be careful that you really don't compact the downhill sand. The water that's leaving that site goes into the ground, hits that dense soil, and moves along it like it's a shelf underground. And it moves off through the soil that's just below the topsoil. So we just want to make sure that we don't really compact that, because then it's not going to leave the site and it's going to finally bubble up. And then everybody's going to be in trouble that will end up having to go in there because it's going to stink. And then the whole thing falls apart. And is there a way, Amy, that either you can express that to the crews that are on site, or I'd be more than happy if it helped them to just go over and just talk it through, because I'm sure they don't want to wreck it.
Yeah,
What-
Dick, and that's all the points and statements you are making are very valid, and they're obviously all points we like to be a good neighbor. We like to be good stewards in the communities that we have, are in. And so our project manager and our outreach coordinator for this project, I know, have reached out to the property owners a couple of different times. And, we want to work, we want to start an open dialogue with them to, talk about what we would do to mitigate any risk to the leach field, which from my understanding, is hard to actually locate on the drawings. And so it's not a very clear drawing. And so there's not really any measurements. So to show where it is, and we don't have a permit on file for it going into our easement. So we don't even have that paperwork to look at ourselves. So we obviously want to work with the homeowner, the property owner, to make sure that there's no damage. That's the last thing that we would ever want to happen. So I know our team had gone out there a couple of times and I think talked to them. I know we're planning on reaching out again and trying to discuss different ways that we could mitigate any risk for work that needs to be done, including some potential matting, which redistributes weight. And so that's where we are. We want to just engage in a really open dialogue with the property owner.
That's terrific. Terrific. I may actually be able to help a little bit. I remember going in and witnessing the perk tests on that. I remember Bob Sheehan Sr. designing that. It's a huge, absolutely huge system. And I think that we may have the drawings, that certainly the Title V drawings I looked at are terrible. You can't tell anything about it. But and they weren't made to do that. They were really made to try to be able to get at the points to pump the system out. But I'm sure there are drawings that were on file, and Colleen, maybe you can look for those. And if not, Bob, unfortunately, Bob Sr. Is dead, but I think Bob Jr. has those drawings. So I think to help Eversource, to try to help the owners, to get everybody working together, knowing the location of this stuff is absolutely the way we have to start, so that they know that, Amy, so your crews, your project manager there has a reasonable chance of coming out standing on his 2 feet. So let us do that. Colleen, could you look? And if you can't find it.
I've had the 3 Barton Street folder out since I started talking with them and the homeowner, and there's nothing in there but the same drawing on each of the Title V reports. But was this the system from 109 Pleasant Street? Was it called,
It was. That's
before
what
they
happened.
subdivided?
Yeah, what happened is the systems flipped. The logical place to put 3 was not where this ended up being used. They flip-flop. So what you're looking for is the system for the original, the big house.
Okay, the 109 Pleasant. That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't entirely sure. Okay, so it's probably in that folder.
Yep.
Otherwise, I could reach out to Bob Sheehan. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what happened. That's what happened there. So So if you could look for that, it sounds like Amy's people could end up getting what they need to progress. And again, Amy, I'm kind of familiar with this particular system, and I would be happy if your team was looking for, you know, a Board of Health set of eyes to be looking at it with them. And as I said, I am an engineer. I did this kind of stuff, so I know what I'm looking at, and I know what they're going to be facing. So maybe I could help, and I'd be more than willing to do that.
That's very much appreciated, Dick. And I'm happy to arrange a site meeting with myself and the project manager and our outreach coordinator, Colleen, to go out on site if you wanted to. We can connect and try to schedule that. I know the last that our team internally were talking about with really trying to figure out where the leach field was looking at doing some penetrating radar just to figure it, you know, to locate it ourselves. So I think our team was potentially going to be in touch with the property owner to discuss that as well. And
Yeah,
I know
you can't see them. They're being very patient. I can see them, and they're not throwing stuff. They're not jumping up and down. They look very pleasant and
very good.
So I think if you start going through that and let's get it done. Let's make sure that we do it right the first time, and boy, it's going to save us all a ton of work.
Yeah, and that's my apologies for not being on camera. I don't know why it's not working. But hello to the property owners. I don't even know your names, but I'll get that.
Frank and Katrina.
We don't like to give out customer or, you know, information when we're talking. So it's, you know, about a privacy thing. So that's why you're referred to as the property owner. So, but yeah, it's happy to work. You know, we want to work with them. You know, we want to work with the town. We want to be good neighbors in Granby. So, and we certainly don't want to damage anyone's leach field. So I hope we can continue to sort of progress. And I know that there was a specific date that we were trying to get this done ahead of, I think, on the request of the property owner. And so, you know, we're trying to keep that in mind as well as we move through this. So just to meet their requests. So, you know, I can, you know, give you my cell phone number. I don't mind if anyone writes it down.
Well, you can, if you want, if you want.
Send it to you?
Or give it to Colleen, and
Okay.
and that way it's not.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening, who knows who you get calls from.
Yeah.
Everybody whose electric bill is too high will be calling you.
Yeah. No, that's appreciated. And that's Colleen has my email address as well, because I had emailed her for the information about joining the meeting. So she also has my email address. So that's I hope that, you know, I supplied a little bit more information. You know, I don't have, you know, exactly what we can do or what we're going to offer.
No, I know.
I just know that, yeah.
So I know it's refreshing to hear a utility have this kind of attitude. It really is. And it's, you know, we all feel that we're little people dealing with this monster system. And you're a great spokesman. And I appreciate your being here. And Lee and Herb and Frank and Katrina, do you have anything else to say, or are we okay with Amy?
I think we're definitely on the right path.
I think we should move on.
Okay. Have a good night, Amy, Frank, and Katrina. I'll expect to hear from you. Colleen can get you in touch with me, and we can, I guess, start with my home phone, but we'll work on my cell phone too.
Thank you, Mr. Bombardier. You folks have a nice evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good
now.
night, Amy. Thanks a lot, Amy.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, the next one. Let's not do mass yet. I've had two things that were, I guess it could go under mail or email. One of them just came through, and it's a request for somebody to witness. It looks like a Title V inspection. It sounds like it's not really to witness the inspection. It looks like it's to second guess a procedure. And it ends up being by a homeowner is the request, but for a lawyer. It's in Central Mass. And my note that I sent out was that I don't know whether Lee wants to go do it. I certainly don't. But my suggestion is that they ought to go, if they're going to ask for someone to review a procedure, they should get a certified public health officer. Get someone like Laurie McCool from Wilbraham Munson, or someone that's got a stamp and because I would guess this is going to be in court someplace.
That's what it sounds like. So who the heck would want to get involved in that?
Maybe Herb would like to do that.
Herb would like to move on.
So Colleen, I think that's what you should get back and say, we're the wrong board to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wrong board.
Okay.
The next one, and that's actually Nancy asked it to you, Colleen, and that's access to Maven. We can't do that. When this Maven thing got started, I mean, Department of Public Health hammered and hammered and hammered, saying that you can't let people get at the Maven data no matter what. It has to be anything, any access to it is going to have to be through you, Colleen.
Mm-hmm. Well,
We just
they
can't do it.
have sent me a form, but it was to do with the colleges. Well, we have no colleges in town, so I didn't, bother with it. But it
Yeah.
was to do with the colleges getting involved with that, and they could provide the training. But I never heard of, I haven't seen anything to do with any, public schools or anything, other than that higher education and boarding schools, they said possibly. But so I didn't know what, the answer was for Nancy on
Yeah,
that.
it is. In
Yeah.
fact, if you weren't here, but even the issue with how much the first responders got, and it's really a narrow line that you can't cross.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the next one, I did not on the grant for air sensors. I did look up, and there isn't money to install things. They really, their program really wants to get schools involved with this and let them do the tracking and the analysis. And actually, it looks like exactly the stuff that Herb was talking about, to get the public involved with this and understanding the data and what the hazards are. It sounds like that the state is trying to do this as besides make a difference, to make this as an educational opportunity. So I did not talk to Chris Martin. I am comfortable that we can get that done. But when I read the background of this, it's almost like the state is saying, we want people to be involved with getting these things installed on their own. Let put them some skin in the game. But from my standpoint, we ought to go ahead and do this. We just have to, I don't know, Herb and Lee, I think we should absolutely go ahead, fill out the application. The only question, I'm still at the end of saying, let's ask for 5. Herb, you're at the other end and said the last time we spoke, let's ask for 10. So the first thing, are we interested in going forward still? Lee and Herb?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, me too. So now, how many do we want to ask for?
Why don't we write a proposal first and then decide how many we're going to ask for?
Okay, I could support that. You want to look at the proposal, Herb, or do you want to? Only one. It didn't look like it was a very big application.
Nothing is a very big application. It's just you got to follow all the rules. The paper that Ari Bernstein and I wrote has all the background we need for anything, and has the rationale. And we have the problem right here in town, as I tried to say at our last meeting. We have our trucks out there idling. Even if we don't have tour buses here, we have our trucks idling. We're dumping PM 2.5 all over Granby. We shouldn't do that.
We still have another couple weeks. Before we have to really hit this hard, what I'd be willing to do if you guys thought it was worthwhile, now that we've said we're going to go after this, now I think I could go at the two school groups. I'm close, pretty close to the guys at McDuffie, and I'm okay. I'm pretty close with the new superintendent of the public schools, and I could go to Chris Martin too, and try to pull those guys together and say, this is what we're trying to do, and we want to see if these students are going to grab a hold of this. Can it be tied into a science course or something? Is it worthwhile for me to do that before the next meeting?
I would say not a science course, but a science project.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You want me to give it a shot and talk to those 3 groups?
I nominate you to do that.
Okay, I'll do that. No, I talk to those guys sometime. Anyways, in fact, I probably talk to both groups almost once a week, so I'll do that. Okay.
Did I send you all a copy of that paper we wrote?
You sent me one.
I saw it, yes, thank you.
Yes, that was. Yep.
Why don't you give the people copies of that, Dick? It's short and sweet.
Okay. Okay. Schools and. Okay, I better make a note. Okay. Now, I'll go to masks. And I'll give you just quick things. I've been talking to the public schools, not so much, in fact, not at all about masks at McDuffie. Did talk to Chris Martin today, and I've talked 2 different issues. One are masks, and one is mandatory vaccinations. It looks like unions are the issues with mandatory vaccinations from the schools, as well as Chris talking about the unions he deals with. And it looks like if we were going to have, I don't see any boards of health requiring vaccinations of anybody yet. However, for masks, there are three issues. One is, I don't know if Lee and Herb, you saw that Long Meadow Board of Health adopted a mandatory mask for all public buildings, public places in town. And that did go, it either is or did go into effect, including churches, restaurants, and the issues on the restaurants is unless you were eating or drinking, you had to have the mask on. And as with and Chris Martin talked to me about it, is for private offices that are occupied by only one person, during the time that it's occupied by one person, you don't have to wear a mask. But Stephen Sullivan, actually, he's the new principal, superintendent. He actually told me that they are going to go ahead with masks, that the union agreed that masks would be acceptable. And he said life would be easier for him if we had a mandatory mask issue. Chris Martin told me that he would not have an issue with mandatory masks. He said, other than that, he would ask that the office part be dealt with. So it looks like, at least from on the public standpoint, they would be more than willing to accept the mandatory mask rule from us. What, Herb and Lee, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, how can we consider any other position except mandatory masking? I think it would be irresponsible for this Board of Health to espouse any other position at this particular time in Granby, Massachusetts. That's what I'm thinking.
Lee, what are you thinking?
I can fully support that position.
Okay, I can too. So we're going to do this. Do we want to use the model that Long Meadow is using?
I don't have Long Meadow's model in front of me.
Well, then they're saying that all buildings that are accessible to the public have to have the mask on, regardless of whether you've been vaccinated or not, and that they only, and that says that private businesses that are open to public access are included. And that it is inside that it was proposed, and the exceptions were for restaurants and I guess in bars, that if you're not actually eating or drinking, you're supposed to have the masks on. And if you have a space, a closed space, an individual in a closed space alone does not have to wear the mask.
Dick, I just don't see that any of these are issues, any of them. We're not going into people's private spaces, into their private office to see whether they're wearing a mask or not. If you're dealing with the public, you should be wearing a mask. My wife and I were absolutely flabbergasted. It was our fault. Let me preface it by saying that. It was our fault when we went to the annex and one of our town employees, never vaccinated and not wearing a mask. We didn't ask. We should have. I just don't see any of the issues that you're bringing up are germane at all. You wear a mask if you're inside and dealing with the public.
Okay, but from just to help with definition here, I get what we're referring to here. Are we going to be looking for the, or isn't it obvious, given that if you're at the Pizza Palace for dinner, then they're going to use every other table to keep people 6 feet apart as well?
Of course.
Well, we don't know that. If that's,
No, but that's our responsibility. People ought to be properly spaced.
so how would we, let's do it. You're saying groups of people. So the tables spread out. How about, and just in church, you just say you should be back to 6 feet.
God will occupy the interim space.
So do we take one of these other emergency orders? So we would call this a temporary order and based it on the current transmission of the disease. And it stays until we say it's over.
That's what I would
Right,
say, Dick.
Yeah, with the minimum standards, masking, sanitization, spacing, all of the above, sure.
And we would say then it's a mask that has to be nose and mouth. Are we going to say it can't be a gaiter or a neckerchief? Are we going to put that in? And
I think at a minimum, we have to say a properly worn face covering.
Lee, can you support Sunday? I can.
Sure, let's give it a shot. At least,
And
like you said, we have to start someplace, and it may not be a complete out of the gate win, but at least we need to get a bunch of people starting to participate, so that as those days go forward and they start going to different businesses in town or the town hall, whatever, the safety complex, council on aging, they'll get the impression that we're doing something for their own good and our own good, and it should become a natural occurrence from the past months that we've already been through. I mean, even I can tell you for sure that even now, we never gave up our own private little mask mandate at the pharmacy. And I would say probably 8 out of 10 people who come in always have masks on, and those that don't, we offer them one if they forgot theirs. So it's been, you know, it's just been a continuation. It's been good for the most part. And there's no very, very little pushback from anybody about it. Everybody accepts what's going on. And a lot of people are surprised that the current administration hasn't done what we're doing already. So I don't think it's going to be as hard as it would have been in the beginning stages of this whole thing.
Okay, Colleen, can you give the 3 churches a call?
Yes, yes, I can. And then what about like tomorrow when I go to work? When am I telling these employees like, okay, start wearing your mask?
Yeah, do you want to be the one that you know what? I'll call Chris Martin. I'll call Chris Martin. I'll call, I will call Stephen Sullivan. So I'll get those guys on board. And let me write that down. In fact, I'll even get in touch with McDuffie.
You're McDuffie, okay.
Duffy. Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
So starting as soon as possible? I mean, starting right away? Or what are we going with, or Sunday?
I think what we ought to do is tell people we'd like to start it right away, but it's going to be, our hard date is Sunday, but because it's the only reason we didn't make it tomorrow is because we couldn't tell people about it soon enough. But we would like them to start. When I talk to them, I'm going to say, let's start it.
Because we can email some people and they'll get those messages, you know.
I'll talk to the
Right
people
away.
he can.
Okay.
Who else would you like me to talk to?
You want to talk to Jennifer too?
Yes.
So get the social media part.
So Jen and GCAM.
Yeah.
Who else?
Number. But I can call Kevin.
So we ought to, talking to Jen will inform the select board.
Yeah. Yeah, because she is chair.
Yes. What other groups in town? Obviously, the meetings are all being held on Zoom, I assume, but if there are any on-face meetings, they ought to be masked.
Select board is.
Yeah, select board,
They meet in person, yeah.
Yeah, so they need to be masked.
do we give Mish a courtesy call at the fire department too? Do we? No, we could let
Or
it
is
go
Chris,
through Chris.
yeah, I mean, is Chris Martin gonna contact everybody? You know, police, fire, highway? I don't know how the hierarchy works.
Well, remember, we never rescinded our Board of Health, the police department Board of Health agent thing. That we remember when we appointed the police, but it may have been, I can't remember how the letter went. Was it only through the state of emergency, or was it for all COVID stuff?
I think we want to get out the information before we get out the policing of it.
Yeah, well, I was just saying to just let Kevin know that it was just a courtesy call to say, hey, Kevin, we're going back to masks.
I can get in touch with Kevin too.
Oh, go ahead then.
Who
But
else?
as you said, it's not for enforcement. It's just a courtesy.
Yes, info, not enforcement now.
Right, right. Do you want me to dig up our other orders and try to write something down for us to finally agree on at the next meeting that says this is the actual order?
Sure.
I can cut and paste, at least we put it and have a document in place.
Yes. Short and sweet.
Yeah,
The more people have to read, the less they're going to pay any attention to it.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay. I tried to keep it shorter with our color.
You're doing better, but shorter still.
Yeah.
As my wife
So-
used to tell me when I had to give talks, whatever I was going to say, cut it by 2/3. And I think that would be just about right.
Oh, I think it was it Lincoln that somebody said, some famous orator said, I'm really sorry. Had I had more time to prepare, it would have been much shorter.
Just read the Gettysburg Address.
So are we,
So as far as the like the restaurants and the businesses, what you want a short little letter to go out, just saying we're once again, masking and mandatory masking? What-
yeah, probably a short letter that says the board adopted a mandatory masking policy at this meeting of the 17th.
Which goes into effect immediately.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay,
Say it immediately, and we'll just live with the fact that it may take a week to get it up to the level we want.
Correct.
But I have this problem saying, oh, why don't we start acting safe 6 days from now?
yeah. Okay,
Are you okay with that, Lee, immediately? And then since there's
Oh, yeah,
no,
because Yeah, I think we all know at the beginning it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
But our real intention is from maybe 7-10 days from now, the whole thing's really running at, 90-95%
Yeah.
or better.
Lee, if we get 95% masking, we will be ecstatic.
I hope you're right.
I hope you're right.
All we can do is keep trying to hit them over the head with the same message, and they're gonna get it.
Okay, what
Okay.
else?
Colleen, you're the one that usually says, oh, you didn't do this.
Yeah, so should I send a reminder letter to Brusso's Liquors about their violation fee owed?
Why don't
That
you
was-
just send a letter asking them whether they've paid their fee?
Whether they paid it?
Yes. Did you pay?
Yeah, I haven't
Do
seen
we
anything.
wanna- Do we want to say that failure to pay this is going to result in the revocation of the cigarette license? We don't have to say it's going to be next year.
That should get their attention.
Mhm.
Well, that was Meredith O'Leary's point, that if they don't
Mhm.
pay, they will be revoked.
Mhm.
But we can ask them whether they paid. If they
Mhm.
don't answer or they say no, then let's hit them over the head with it.
Yeah, I could support that. Just ask them, have you paid?
Okay.
Because it looks like it's not going to be until next year that we can get them, because I don't think we've got a process that says if you don't pay, you lose it. So. Oh, by the way, Lisa Lovell of the West Mass Elder Care, she says that she's got a mechanism to reach seniors if we give her what we'd like her to say, she's got a path through some kind of a letter talking about arranging vaccination appointments. And the other is she's got a different group of people that are like home health aides that go into seniors' houses, and she can talk that up to them as well. She offered to do that.
Well, Dick, as you're well aware, it's only going to be a short time before we're going to have to approach all of our seniors again for booster shots.
That's right.
So all of this is going to come to a head soon because boosters are going to be recommended.
Yeah. In fact, I think it happened this afternoon, that after 8 months, I think.
That's what I read today. That's correct.
For everybody that has Moderna or Pfizer.
Mhm.
Yes, that's correct.
So you're right, Herb, for sure.
I'd like to end the evening unless you have other things.
I'm done.
I'm all set.
I move
Good
we
night, folks.
adjourn.
All
What?
right, thank you.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Okay, good night.